Hi everyone, this is Anthony O'Flynn coming to you from the Sunshine Coast, and this video will be a energetic forecast for the summer solstice here in Australia, the winter solstice in the Northern Hemisphere. In fact, this video will be a focus on one topic only, which is the bifurcation of consciousness that's occurring. And I will actually do, hopefully, another video for the energy update for 2022 sometime around the new year. So, and the reason why I'm just going to focus on the bifurcation of consciousness is simply because of the limited time I have to make for this video. I have a lot of tasks that I need to do at the moment, and also there are a lot of topics that I feel require a more comprehensive explanation, and this is the most important one actually, and I feel that it's not really been considered the way it should, because we are now starting to experience the bifurcation of consciousness more tangibly in the physical world. But it's important to state that the bifurcation or stratification of consciousness has been occurring, on this planet forever. It's just that we haven't really been aware of it, and this really comes back to the consciousness of an individual and how they express that consciousness. And this ongoing global paradigm shift is really having a direct connection to this splitting. So I'm not going to be referring to this in terms of timelines because that's another issue, but in terms of what is actually happening at a deeper level on the planet, because as a whole we're focusing more on the noise, and this empire of control, whatever name you want to give to it, is actually in its last days. And I don't mean days in terms of literally days or weeks or months, but the sun is setting on this Kali Yuga, on this epoch of, this epoch of spiritual darkness. And it's well known that the energy of the yugas, or in terms of Kali Yuga, intensifies when it's ending. So that's why we're seeing the demonic forces, the satanic forces on this planet really playing their last card. And this will go on for some time. They're never going to give up. But the stratification of consciousness is really becoming more tangible in 2021. And people are now starting to experience the effects of their soul evolution in this time alone. So the people who have been putting time and energy into their spiritual evolution, into their soul evolution, and that can actually even be unconsciously, are now starting to reap the beneficial rewards of that. And those that haven't, they're really struggling. And then there's another group, which I refer to as the intermediary group, who they are having a very challenging time, but many of them are making very brave decisions and very courageous efforts to move into this high vibration. And this has really been showing up, every day at this point, but it started really with this trigger point with the mandatory magic potion. So many people are incorrectly, at least in my view, assuming that the bifurcation of consciousness, the splitting into the high states or remaining in this continuation of this 3D reality, are assuming that, and I was actually asked about this in a radio interview recently, that if you have had the magic potion, then therefore you are not going to be able to move into the higher vibratory state. 100%. It's a foregone conclusion. I don't agree with this at all. And therefore I don't agree with the fact that if you haven't had the magic potion, then you are definitely going to move into this high state of consciousness. So I don't agree with that either. So what we're looking at here is causality, and that's what people are referring to as causality. And for some people, this uptake of the magic potion will produce the effect that they are not going to migrate into this higher state of consciousness. But it's not the magic potion itself, actually. It's more the consciousness around the belief systems, attitudes, and everything that is surrounding this very, very emotionally charged topic. So the comments that I'm making are not meant to be divisive or to judgmental, because every soul in this tapestry of the universe, of this cosmic game, has its function, has its place, has its right to be here. So I'm not saying that any decisions are lesser than another, but I am saying that decisions and actions produce effects, and we have to take responsibility for those effects. So really what I'm talking about here is the quality of the soul and the mindset and the motivation for taking the magic potion, you see, because we're now seeing that there is a very large group of people on this planet who are genuinely wanting to be sovereign and who are genuinely wanting to take responsibility for their own decisions, their own health, their own life, and they don't want the government telling them what to do. It's as simple as that. And these people are moving into this is the effect of the bifurcation. Whereas there's another group of people who are actually very happy for the government to decide for them what they should do, what they can and can't do, what health measures they should take, and all these issues that you're already aware of. And that is like a childlike state of mind. And it's looking at the government as a maternal or patriarchy figure, like a father figure or a mother figure, to really tell them what to do and when they should do it and everything. Now, that's fine. I'm not saying that's necessarily a bad thing, but this expression of consciousness around this topic is causing the bifurcation to become more visible. And the truth is, this is important, that the bifurcation is much more complicated than just two different levels of consciousness. That is, there are more dimensions to consider and sub-realities within those two different levels of consciousness that we're talking about, this splitting. So it's much more complicated than just moving into fourth density or 5D reality. There's more to it than that simplistic mindset. which is fine at this point if it's useful to consider that as a way of understanding what's going on, because people are really starting to feel disconnected from various people in their life, whether it's their colleagues, family, friends, intimate partners, all these sorts of things, because of this separation that's occurring. And in many ways the separation is actually starting to become tangible, in the sense that some of the mandates that are occurring, and while I don't agree to any of those or support any of those, the fact that we now have a two-tier society here in Queensland and in other states in Australia, it's actually forcing the people who are being excluded from different aspects of society to reevaluate how they've been living, and it's actually pushing them into actually an even more mature state of consciousness, where you can see many people now are starting to become more innovative, become more dynamic, become more progressive, and to become more futuristic in a certain way. And this is the effect of these mandates. So in this way, it's not all bad, because it's actually forcing many people to realize that if they are not going to be coerced and bullied into and dictated to how they should live in terms of their health, then they'll start making alternative arrangements, whatever they will be in the future. I don't know what that will look like, but it's creating a lot of dynamism in people, which means that the status quo is being challenged even more. And this, again, is an effect of this bifurcation, and this bifurcation is now tangible in a physical reality. And again, I'm not saying it's mathematical in regard to this topic of the magic potion, but for some people it is actually a causal thing, not everybody. And this bifurcation of consciousness will only intensify as we move forward through this global paradigm shift. This is just the beginning. And a lot of people in the awakening community, in the truth movement, in the freedom movement, are really resisting these measures which are draconian and tyrannical. And that is, we don't want to live like that. But at the same time, this splitting of the way means that it will also become easier to co-create a new reality, to live in that, to live in parallel with the 3D reality. So I'm not saying to people that they should be rejecting the 3D reality or being in a state of despair or despondent about what's occurring now, but look at it as an opportunity to be co-creating the new reality. And with this vacuum that's occurred, that it actually gives us this spaciousness to co-create, to bring this into the manifestation. So these are exciting times in this way, and the bifurcation will mean that you will find your tribe, your people who are on the same soul journey as you much easier than previously, actually, because much of the spiritual persona or the rhetoric or the appearance of spirituality is now being exposed for many people as just being a kind of image. And you cannot fake the frequency in this cosmic game that's unfolding. No one can. And although people might have had a certain, spiritual name or a certain outfit or a certain persona, and persona is actually the Latin word for mask, all of that's irrelevant for the consciousness that is required to move and navigate through this planetary paradigm shift, which means that it leads us to understand that not everyone is coming on this journey. And I'm sure those of you who are watching this already understand that. But the more that you're fighting the people that aren't coming on that journey, the more that you are not just loving them for their contribution to the cosmic game, which is perfect for them. It's perfect for them. And we cannot be having the attitude of screaming at people to wake up as far as we consider what waking up really is, when some people's destiny is simply not to migrate into this higher state of consciousness, this bifurcation, which is fine. There is nothing wasted or lost or misused in the resources of the divine game to not move into this higher reality. So for the people who are moving into this higher state, it's as much as letting go as what it is of co-creating, because a lot of people are hanging on to these relationships of all kinds, and it is painful, and it's not so simple if it's people in your family and so on. But it doesn't mean that you necessarily have to put a line through someone's name or not, continue that relationship in some way. But at the same time, the bridge is widening now. Now, it's important to state that in terms of the bifurcation, that although it's really starting to widen now and it will continue to widen, that it doesn't mean that people who are not migrating into the higher reality are finished yet. The door is still open. The opportunity is still there. And you're going to see many people who you probably never would have expected who are actually going to go through this radical transformation in this decade and beyond. And with many of the younger people, it's very difficult to ascertain what their destiny will be. But everyone here has that opportunity. And just because someone is not showing the what's considered to be the signs of going through this awakening now, it doesn't mean that it's finished for them. And so that's why it's very important to be patient and to allow each flower to blossom in its own time. Because we don't think that when one flower blossoms one day and then one flower blossoms the next, that one of those flowers is better than another. They both have their own beauty and their own fragrance. So that means that everyone will have their own journey, and this is what I refer to in my book as the nodes, the nodes of awakening, that there are certain effects that are having a strong causality that produce the effect of triggering an awakening in the soul, for that individual soul. And we really saw that last year in 2020, where that really occurred very powerfully, and even again in 2021. And that event at a causal level in 2020, the pandemic, was a very concentrated node. Now what we're seeing in 2021 is a little bit more dispersed, and there will be some more powerful events coming in the next 2 to 3 years that will be more concentrated nodes of awakening. And you can read more about this timelines and the bifurcation of consciousness in the book that I've written, Paradigm Shift, The Global Awakening of Humanity 2020 to 2040. I'll leave a link in the comments. But to understand that these forces that are unfolding here are extremely powerful, and that it's very important in some moments, and this will vary from situation to situation, to simply get out of the way of the insanity and to also learn to coexist in the insanity. Don't resist the insanity. It would be a major mindset aspect of mindset that I'm personally having, and that doesn't mean that I don't I observe it and so on, and I do comment on it and so on, but it's there, and the insanity will intensify. You can be sure of it, because we have just seen how completely insane some people on this planet really genuinely are, and they will continue to be insane. And not only that, is that they will, because of their very dense structure, core structure of their ego, they will never admit that they were wrong. And we have to live with that. So there's something very powerful about just getting out of the way of that insanity and allowing that insanity to just continue, because trying to stop it, it's not possible, and it's only going to create suffering for the people who are you, me, whoever's trying to do that. So it's futile, actually. So this topic of the bifurcation of consciousness is still in its early stages yet, and we are yet to see what I refer to as the intermediary zone, elements of the herd, which way that herd is going to move. And it's not just, the herd, but aspects of it. So it's still very individual. And how that intermediary zone will navigate this shift. And that is not predetermined, really. It's still very early to evaluate clearly, and we're talking billions of people here, what they will choose. I mean, at a soul level, the choice has most likely already been made for most people, but the manifestation of that is still yet to come. So I wouldn't suggest that this game is ending or beginning, but we are now starting to see the effects of this. And even just recently, I've noticed that some things that I'm seeing, it's like living in a parallel reality, to see what is going on with huge groups of people and the groupthink, the collective consciousness and the hive mind, and to observe how disconnected you actually are from that, which is actually a good thing in many ways, because it is a sign of the separation and a maturing of the soul into being more sovereign, being more mature, being more self-aware, and being more conscious at a high level of consciousness. If we're looking to the masses for social cues on how we should live, how we should think, then we're not in that state yet. But it's in shades of grey. It's not black and white yet. So this door is open now. This game is being played now, and we are seeing the effects of the soul choices in this lifetime, in previous lifetimes, in this period leading up to the node of 2020, and we can start to really reap the fruits. And I just wanted to finish at least this video with this really positive message for people on the journey of awakening, that I'm feeling that the divine fruits of the actions of the consciousness that people are embodying and manifesting is going to be very bountiful and very profound in time, in ways that we don't really understand or even imagine now. And we will start to really experience the richness of life on earth in its fullness, and this inverted reality will either continue, or people on the journey of awakening will not experience it as being inverted. They will perhaps observe it and come into contact with it, but it won't taint their soul or their heart in that way. And these riches, these treasures that we are all seeking, I feel they will come in time. But as I'll be saying in the forecast for next year, we're about to go through our rite of passage individually, and we must be prepared to put our soul first, not second or third, and put our career or material things or status and these sorts of things. It's got to come first. And for some people that will be quite easy, and other people it's going to be extremely difficult. But everyone's here to experience this awakening in one way or another, and some will choose the gift that they're being offered and some won't. And this is the divine game, and we're all playing this divine game. There are no spectators in this game, and I'll be speaking more about this soon. Wishing everyone awesome solstice. Beautiful time of the year, I love it. And enjoy.